Have you ever seen a homemade antenna project start with a kitchen strainer? Sounds a little strange, doesn't it? But it actually makes perfect sense. Let me show you how I pulled it off. The first step is to mark the exact center of the strainer so I can drill a hole there, making the next stage of installing the main component much easier. Next, I have a plastic box filled with bolts, nuts and washers. I'll pick out one bolt to make a homemade soldering tip, along with 3 nuts and 2 washers to secure that homemade tip in place. And do you know why a homemade soldering tip can be made from something as simple as a bolt? My answer is this. A bolt is made from solid metal so it can absorb and transfer heat effectively when connected to a heat source. Its thick body helps hold temperature more steadily, while the threaded shape makes it easy to mount, tighten, and adjust during assembly. It is also easy to find, inexpensive, and strong enough to handle repeated heating without bending too easily. With a little shaping at the tip, a simple bolt can become a practical homemade soldering tip. After cutting off the hex head of the bolt, all that remains is the threaded shaft. I'll sharpen one end so it matches the shape of a real homemade soldering tip. Before installing the soldering tip in its proper position, I've prepared a piece of electrical wire here to connect the power source to the homemade soldering tip. This type of wire has a core made of many small copper strands tightly twisted together, which helps it carry electricity well while staying flexible and easy to work with. After connecting one end of the wire to the homemade soldering tip, I'll install it into the hole that was drilled earlier at the front of the strainer, using 3 nuts and 2 washers to hold everything firmly in place. With the other end of this wire, I'll attach an alligator clip as well, making it much easier to connect to the power source. And I'm not stopping there. I also made one more tool to connect to the negative terminal of the power source and create balance in the circuit. It consists of a piece of wire with an alligator clip attached to each end. This is a small battery, and it's a very suitable power source for this project because it delivers a proper amount of electricity without negatively affecting the setup. And in the practical test I'm about to do for evaluation, all you need to watch for is whether it produces enough heat to join small metal parts securely without damaging them. If it can do that, then it's a success. Stay until the end and decide for yourself whether it's worth making. The recycled soldering iron in this project did not disappoint us at all. From the moment it powered on, it showed stable heat and worked far better than many people would expect from a handmade tool. It handled small metal parts with enough precision, created firm joints, and completed the task without causing unnecessary damage. That alone already makes this build worth the effort. More importantly, it proves that useful tools do not always need to be expensive or complicated. Sometimes a few basic parts, a little patience, and some creative thinking are enough to build something practical. Ideas like this remind us that ordinary materials can still have a second life when used the right way. If you enjoy smart DIY projects that save money and deliver real results, this one is definitely worth trying and remembering for future builds.